What do you drink, and what does your coffee preference say about you? We have talked about the importance of nonverbal communication when figuring out a situation in class. Well, studies have shown that there could be a way to tell a lot about a person just by analyzing their coffee preference. While this obviously isn't always going to be accurate and isn't always going to be the case in each individual person, certain traits do correlate to certain types of coffee. Psychologists have discovered that the type of coffee and how you take your coffee are linked to several different aspects of your personality. Some of these aspects include whether you are a light, average, or deep sleeper, whether you are an ambivert, introvert, or extrovert, along with being linked to certain personality traits. In a study conducted on 1,000 coffee drinkers by Time magazine, certain personality traits were linked between the individuals that preferred each type of coffee. The results were that the individuals that preferred black coffee tended to be straightforward, minimalistic individuals, which was not supported by our class data because we only had one individual that chose black coffee as their choice coffee drink. The people who preferred an espresso were the individuals that tend to take on more leadership roles, were hardworking, and knew how to get what they wanted. Nobody in our class chose an espresso as their preferred coffee drink, so there's no class data available to either support or refute the traits that correlate to an espresso. The latte drinkers are the individuals that tend to be neurotic, like to please others, and are often pretty indecisive. While nobody used that exact terminology, the inferences that could be made based on what they did say, shy, reserved, quiet, mature, etc., support this found data. The individuals that prefer the cappuccino tend to be those that are obsessive and controlling, creative, and motivated. Only one individual had this preference, but overall, their traits did support the general findings. The people who enjoy a frappe were shown to be the ones that are more adventurous, will try anything once, are the trendsetters, and overall did not make healthy choices. Out of the reported results for this survey, our class data best supports this one, with the frappe drinkers using adjectives like crazy to describe themselves. A study of 2,000 Americans performed by the New York Post studied other effects of coffee on certain traits involving personality. They found that black coffee drinkers tended to be introverted, while those that liked their coffee with milk tended to be extroverted, and those that preferred their coffee with milk and sugar were ambiverts. The data for this was not able to be analyzed since 71% of the respondents said they preferred milk and sugar in their coffee. The same study also found that those who preferred black coffee tended to be light sleepers. Those that had a preference for coffee with milk and sugar or with just milk tended to be deep sleepers. The individuals that were average sleepers tended to just prefer coffee and sugar. In our class data, 72% of the deep sleepers were also extroverted, while the other 28% were ambiverts, and none of the individuals were introverted. They found that the individuals that preferred milk and sugar in their coffee were ambiverts and deep sleepers, and those that preferred coffee with just milk were extroverts and deep sleepers as well. Our class data best reflects and supports this result overall. Most people in our class, however, were average sleepers and preferred milk and sugar in their coffee. Another interesting find was who the extroverted people were. Our class results found that the majority of the people that did not drink coffee on a weekly basis were the extroverts. It is usually stereotyped in the opposite direction, with the people who drink coffee to have more energy and therefore a more extroverted personality. In a study conducted by body language experts Judy James and James Moore, they also analyzed similarities and correlations between coffee preference and certain personality traits. They found that espresso drinkers were moody and hardworking, the black coffee drinkers were minimalistic, quiet, and moody, the latte drinkers were immature, the cappuccino drinkers tended to be extroverted, materialistic, and optimistic, the instant coffee drinker is likely to be cheerful and they like to laugh, the decaf soy milk coffee drinker tends to be high maintenance, picky, and fussy. The individual who drinks a frappe tends to be flighty and shallow and prefers style over substance. Lastly is the non-coffee drinker, and they tend to be frightened. The purpose of including this survey was to analyze and review the traits of the people that did not like coffee and chose none as their preferred choice coffee drink. In reality, the individuals that reported that they did not like coffee were all across the spectrum in terms of personality, and oftentimes in a study like this, there are certain things that the individual does not feel entirely comfortable sharing, and likely their fears is one of these topics. Overall, the most used adjective when describing the individuals that did not like coffee were goofy, and caring. Our class data did not support all the research data, but this is most likely due to the low numbers of people surveyed. We surveyed 19 people versus the other studies that had 1 to 2,000. An example of this is that according to the more largely conducted surveys, people who would choose black coffee over coffee with milk or coffee with milk and sugar tended to be introverted. Only 3 people said they would choose black coffee, and the results were that 1 person said they were ambiverted, 1 said introverted, and 1 said extroverted. So there's inconclusive data for if the preference for black coffee, the people tend to be introverted. And with coffee with milk, they are supposed to be extroverts, but only 2 people said they preferred this option, and of these 2 individuals, 1 was an introvert and the other was an extrovert, so the data can't really be recorded and analyzed for that either. Based on these 2, the data for the coffee with milk and sugar being ambivert cannot properly be analyzed and concluded. I hope you now have a better understanding about the correlations between coffee preference and personality traits. Maybe you can try to test out the study results with those around you and see how they check out. Thank you.